there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
If you want to see how history is being made in Tennessee, you got to be there.
Columbia, you have okay to land in Knoxville.
Roger, Houston, we'll be there.
The 1982 World's Fair, you got to be there.
From the first ever World's Fair in London to the mythical 1939 New York World's Fair, World's Fairs have inspired the world as they mark critical turning points in history, while at the same time reflecting on the ideals of an era. The 1982 Knoxville World's Fair, a motion towards metropolitan advancement. In 1982, the city of Knoxville hosted the International Energy Exposition. In preparation for the fair, Knoxville revamped a previously dysfunctional downtown area. With 22 participating countries, the exposition played an influential role in diversifying the downtown area. Raking in an estimated $300 million, the World's Fair significantly boosted Knoxville's economy. Ultimately, the 1982 World's Fair proved a major turning point in Knoxville's history as it revitalized the downtown area, expanded Knoxville's cultural horizon, and effected significant growth in Knoxville's economy.
It basically revitalized our downtown.
In the mid-1970s, downtown Knoxville struggled due to an increase of industrial slums and economic pressure from the suburbs. City leaders acknowledged that change was needed, but the question of how to revitalize an entire downtown remained.
And the answer, of course, was to have a World's Fair. The purpose was never really to make any money or to have a fair. It was to get all of that land, the 67 acres, into the city's ownership. And then it would develop that land as part of the downtown. One of the ideas was to move the whole downtown from Gay Street over across to Henley and down onto the fair site. It was a major development project, is what it was.
Some civic leaders in Knoxville wanted to clean up the Second Creek Valley, which was, in their opinion, an eyesore, and they were looking for a way to get some federal money to clear up the interstate out here, which was known as Malfunction Junction, for a good reason. The two interstates ran together right here in Knoxville. Traffic was horrible, and it was, notorious all over the eastern U.S. that when you got to Knoxville, you were going to get caught in some kind of horrible traffic jam.
Sure enough, the fair was a stimulus to get major road work done and renovate the downtown. In the mid-1970s, downtown Knoxville was beginning to face economic pressure from the suburbs. A major shopping mall had recently opened in 1970, and the downtown was struggling to attract business and commerce. So the construction during the World's Fair was an attempt to revitalize the struggling downtown as a whole.
Because of that 72 acres that existed, that was the proverbial hobo jungle and abandoned buildings, abandoned rail tracks, etc. It was a very difficult situation for the city to do anything about downtown revitalization. It would be more beneficial to the community to be able to redevelop that 72-acre site for a World's Fair, which is today the World's Fair Park.
It was a real mingling of cultures like we've never had in Knoxville before.
While the World's Fair significantly revamped the downtown area, civic leaders hoped to culturally diversify Knoxville by establishing the city as a center for research and development and exposing the population to foreign ideas. With the city's convenient location to TVA headquarters, Oak Ridge National Laboratories, and the University of Tennessee, Knoxville was the perfect response to the global energy crisis.
The city had to go before an International Olympic Committee and to get the permission to have a fair. And so what they did was they decided that the theme should be energy. This was a big time about energy conservation. We were near to Oak Ridge. We had a lot of kind of energy development companies. And so the theme was energy turns the world. And And so the idea was that Knoxville, Oak Ridge, that area, was going to be kind of a center for research and development of alternative energy sources.
With the most international participation since 1939, the Knoxville World's Fair showcased 22 different countries.
And they brought their culture with them. And we had, for the full time the fair was going on with the Tennessee Pavilion, we would have different cultural events. And it really elevated our community from a cultural standpoint.
In just 6 months, Knoxville was exposed to a cultural phenomenon that not only caused Knoxvillians to become more interested in other people, but also allowed those very cultures to take root in the city. And to this day, those cultures remain an integral part of the downtown. In fact, Knoxville annually hosts a Rossini Arts Festival, a Latino Festival, and a Greek Fest.
And culturally, yes, I think it was terrific.
The economic probably was the greatest benefit to us short-term and long-term.
In addition to contributing superb cultural exposure, the 1982 World's Fair proved a huge success as it raked in a tremendous revenue and was the last World's Fair to make a profit.
It was a success locally. It was a success nationally because it was the last World's Fair and the only World's Fair that literally ended in the black. It only cost the city of Knoxville, for example, $42 million to do the World's Fair. And out of that, we got a return of over $300 million in revenues.
And ironically, what made the economy in the downtown flourish was all the different investors who came in with different shops and restaurants and Hot Knox Heritage, and they really revamped downtown, and it's doing great.
Despite the success of the World's Fair, Jake Butcher's United American Bank, a business crucial to Knoxville's economy, failed in 1983. However, due to the momentum the city had accumulated during the fair, Knoxville pushed through the crisis. All told, Knoxville certainly did not suffer the consequences that it would have suffered if it had not had the unity of community and upbeat attitude that resulted from the fair itself. In addition to guiding the city through the collapse of the United American Bank, the economic surplus following the World's Fair rendered Knoxville nearly impervious to a national recession. As the rest of the nation experienced dramatic increases in unemployment rates, Knoxville remained unaffected.
8 million out of work. Inflation running at 18% in the first quarter of this year, higher than any single year since the government began keeping separate statistics. The highest interest rates since the Civil War, reaching at times close to 20%.
It kept us out of a recession, a national recession in 80, 81, and we never felt it because our unemployment was the lowest in the state, our crime rate was the lowest in the state. I guess if there's one key word, it's unity.
There was a New York newspaper that referred to Knoxville as a scruffy little city. And right after the fair closed, there was a big billboard on Henley Street that said, "The scruffy little city did it."
But when that person called Knoxville a scruffy little city, it got everybody mad, and everybody really got behind it, and it's our scruffy little city. So I think it did come out pretty well. Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal referred to us as the scruffy little city that was attempting to do a World's Fair. So we just, as they say in some parts of the region, we just kicked hinds and had a very successful World's Fair. And we did that through unity of purpose. To this day, that unity of purpose has been maintained.
Altogether, the 1982 World's Fair proved a major turning point in Knoxville's history as it affected significant economic and cultural growth, resulting in a revitalized metropolitan area.